What if told you that a single signing, just one, could completely change the identity of this defense, and perhaps even define how far this team will go next season? There's something happening behind the scenes in Baltimore that not everyone fully understands yet, but when you put the pieces together, it becomes clear, this isn't just one signing. It's a message to the entire NFL. Before we dive into all of that, do me a small favor, like this post right now if you truly believe the Ravens will be title contenders again this season. And I want to see confidence in the comments. Write something like, we're going all the way in 2026, if you're optimistic about this team. Because what we're about to analyze might give you even more reasons to believe. This is not just another roster move. This is a statement. The Baltimore Ravens are bringing back Calais Campbell on a one-year deal, and this decision carries much more weight than just adding a veteran presence. According to the latest information, Campbell, who is about to turn 40 and enter his 19th NFL season, is still producing at a level that defies everything we usually expect from a player at this stage of his career. Let that sink in for a second. At 39 years old last season, he put up 43 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, and 16 quarterback hits, while also ranking among the top interior defensive linemen in pass rush win rate. That's not nostalgia. That's not legacy signing. That's real, tangible production. And maybe the most impressive part? He played all 17 games for 3 straight seasons. Availability, consistency, leadership. That's exactly what this Ravens defensive line lacked at times last year. Let's be honest with each other. The 2025 defensive front was not good enough. The numbers back it up. Just 30 sacks on the season, ranking near the bottom of the league in multiple pass rush metrics, including pressure rate and win rate. This is a franchise that built its identity on defensive dominance, on getting to the quarterback, on controlling the line of scrimmage. And last season, they simply didn't do that. That's why this move matters. This isn't just about Campbell returning. It's about what his presence represents in a completely restructured defensive unit. You're now looking at a group that includes Travis Jones, emerging young talent, new additions on the edge, and a coaching philosophy that is clearly prioritizing disruption in the trenches again. The front office knew exactly what they were doing. Even during the draft, when many fans questioned why the Ravens didn't aggressively target a defensive tackle early, it now makes sense. They had a plan in place. And that plan included bringing back a proven leader who already understands the system and the culture. There's also a financial angle here that makes this even smarter. The deal is expected to be similar to his previous contract, around $5.5 million for 1 year. For a player still producing at this level, that's incredible value. This is a low-risk, high-impact move. Campbell isn't here for a rebuild. He's here for one thing, a ring. And let's not ignore another key detail that surfaced. There was already an attempt to bring him to Baltimore earlier. A trade was reportedly close to happening when he was with the Miami Dolphins, but it fell through. Now, the Ravens get their man anyway, and possibly at the perfect moment. Think back to that playoff loss where Baltimore struggled to generate pressure. Think about how different that game could have been with a player like Campbell collapsing the pocket, creating chaos, and opening opportunities for others. That's what he brings. This move has the fingerprints of a team that understands urgency. A team that knows the window is open. With Lamar Jackson leading the offense and the defense being rebuilt with intention, the Ravens are not waiting around. They're making calculated moves to get back into serious Super Bowl contention. And when you really start connecting all the dots, you begin to see why this move could be one of the most important under-the-radar decisions of the entire offseason. Because this isn't just about what Calais Campbell does individually on the field, it's about how he elevates everyone around him. Think about the ripple effect for a second. You bring in a veteran who has seen everything, who understands offensive schemes, who knows how to read protections, and suddenly the younger players in that room are learning at a completely different level. Travis Jones, for example, now gets to line up next to someone who still ranks among the most efficient interior pass rushers in football. That matters. That accelerates development. That creates accountability in the room. And then you look at the bigger defensive structure. One of the biggest issues last season wasn't just the lack of sacks, it was the inability to consistently disrupt timing. Quarterbacks were too comfortable. They had time to go through their reads, step into throws, and pick apart the defense. That cannot happen if this team wants to compete at the highest level. Campbell changes that dynamic. Even if he's not putting up double-digit sacks, his presence alone forces offenses to adjust. Double teams, quicker throws, altered protections, all of that opens opportunities for edge rushers and blitz packages to be more effective. This is how elite defenses operate. It's never just one player, it's how all the pieces work together. And let's not overlook something else that's incredibly important here: durability. In a league where injuries constantly derail teams, having a player who has played 17 games in 3 consecutive seasons at his age is almost unheard of. That reliability gives the coaching staff flexibility. It gives them confidence to build game plans knowing that a key piece will actually be on the field. Now, shifting slightly, there's another storyline developing that caught attention today, and it involves Diego Pavia. There are reports that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers from the CFL have shown interest in signing him if things don't work out in the NFL. And while that might seem like a separate situation, it actually highlights something important about roster competition and depth. Pavia is expected to compete, to fight for a spot, possibly that QB3 role. But the fact that there are already alternative paths being discussed shows how tight and competitive these roster battles are going to be. Nothing is guaranteed. Every position is being evaluated. Every player has to earn their place. And that mindset? That's exactly what championship teams are built on. You combine that internal competition with strategic veteran additions like Campbell, and suddenly this roster starts to feel more complete, more balanced, more prepared for the grind of a full season. The front office isn't just making moves, they're making calculated decisions that align with a very clear objective: fixing what went wrong and building something stronger. Because let's be real, this team knows it missed an opportunity. That playoff loss still lingers. The inability to pressure the quarterback in critical moments, the defensive inconsistencies, those are things that don't just disappear. They have to be addressed. And bringing back a player like Campbell feels like a direct response to that. Now it's about execution. Now it's about seeing how all these pieces come together once the season starts. Can this defensive line truly take that leap? Can they go from being near the bottom of the league in key metrics to becoming a dominant force again? And most importantly, can this defense support Lamar Jackson and the offense in a way that puts this team back in serious Super Bowl contention? That's what's at stake here. And there's one more layer to this story that Ravens fans cannot afford to ignore, because it might end up being the difference between a good defense and a championship caliber one. This move signals identity. For years, the Baltimore Ravens have been known for one thing above everything else: physical dominance in the trenches. When you think about the most successful eras of this franchise, it always comes back to controlling the line of scrimmage, collapsing the pocket, and dictating the pace of the game defensively. Last season, that identity slipped. Not completely lost, but weakened. And the numbers, the film, and the results all confirmed it. Bringing back Calais Campbell is a clear message that the Ravens are going back to their roots. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't just about nostalgia or leadership, it's about timing. Campbell is joining a defensive line that is in transition but also full of potential. You've got younger players developing, new additions trying to prove themselves, and a system that is being reshaped to maximize pressure and disruption. Insert a player who already understands how to execute at a high level, and suddenly the margin for error shrinks dramatically. Now imagine key moments in games, third and long, late fourth quarter, playoff atmosphere. Those are the situations where experience matters most. That's where Campbell's presence could become invaluable. Not just in making plays, but in setting alignments, recognizing tendencies, and making sure everyone is in the right position. That's the kind of impact that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but wins games. And let's talk about motivation,